Okay, welcome back. In this segment, we want to talk about the trash out process and what that looks like. Trash out basically is kind of how it is described. You've got, in many cases, a house that is full of crap, and it probably has a pink sign on the door that says nobody gets to come or go. At that point, you, the remediator, who has been hired and who has submitted a work plan to the county and it has been approved. Right now, you, the remediator, are the only one who can legally go into that property. Be aware that in many of the cases, the neighbors are hypersensitive about who's coming and going in that property because there's been a meth head in there. That guy has probably been dealing. He might have had a lab, and they are so tired of having the, the meth heads in and out of that property and all the problems that causes, that they are going to call the cops even if you drive slowly past this house. You go into the driveway and the cops in many cases will be right there. By the way, when they come over and ask if what you're doing, what you don't want to say, because this will get your customer pissed off, you don't want to say, well, I'm a meth remediator and I'm cleaning this house up for meth. That is information that the neighbors don't need to know. If they can find that out some other way, that's great, but you don't give them that information. Just tell them you're a contractor. If they tell them, if they pry and ask what kind of contractor, you just tell them, well, we're cleaning the place up. You don't say meth. So keep that one in the back of your head. So the trash out itself, the protective equipment that you're going to want to use is generally just long sleeves like this and Levi's and gloves, so that maybe there's mouse droppings in there, or maybe there's something sharp, or maybe there's something just disgusting. You don't want to have that be on your bare skin, so you'll want to protect yourself minimally. I do not go into those homes with chemical protective equipment on, because that just makes me sweat to death, and then I'm dehydrated, and that just ruins me for a couple of weeks. So I don't see the need for that. If you want to put that stuff on, be my guest, but be aware that you're going to soak your clothes underneath that chem suit. So Levi's long sleeve gloves. You're going to want to either have a trailer that you're dragging along, or if you don't have the money for that, or you don't want to buy it or whatever, you can actually go get a rental truck and put stuff in there. But you've got to have a means to take the crap from this house and get it to the landfill. And you are disposing of that stuff as special waste. And what that means is you let them know that this is meth contaminated waste or special waste. And that means to them that they've got to dig a hole for you, special for you. You're going to back into there, you're going to throw this contaminated waste in, and immediately they're going to cover that. So the idea being that they don't want there to be any possibility that anybody might rummage through the stuff that you threw away and try and recover stuff. Obviously, there's going to be couches there, there's TVs, there might be workout equipment, there might be a generator, stuff that's valuable, and they don't want people to go rummaging and salvaging that. So that's the materials that you're going to want to wear. Another important part of the trash out is going to be your carpet removal. That's a fairly straightforward process, and it's actually easier than you would think. You can make it easier depending on how macho you think you are. You can roll up an entire room and carry it out on your own shoulder all by yourself, or you can pull up corners and maybe cut it in the middle with a utility knife and just roll that up and get it out. That can be some of the most disgusting part, because in many cases you'll see where maybe a person peed on that carpet, or the dog, and sometimes it's just nasty, gross. And in that case, you might want to wear some breathing protection, but at minimum, long sleeve shirt, gloves, and perhaps some glasses, so that some of that nastiness is at least not getting into your eyes. In order to get the carpet up, you've got to have a little wrench. You can start at the corner and pull things up. The most difficult areas to get up as far as carpet is concerned is on stairways and in closets, and there you're just going to have to curse a little and manhandle a little bit and get that stuff out. Once the carpet is up, then you've got to do the pad, and in many cases you're going to need a scraper. Sometimes the pad actually has a glue beneath it so that the pad will stay attached maybe to concrete, and that can be a real pain in the butt if you don't have a scraper. So you'll need that as part of your tool set. You will also, I mentioned the utility knife, I mentioned the scraper, I mentioned the wrench, which you've got to have to get the corners up. And that's the carpet removal. So now you've got the carpet out, you've got the big stuff out, you got the chairs out, you got the tables out. Next thing you want to do is look at the HVAC system. That stands for heating, venting, and air conditioning. And the HVAC is kind of the centerpiece. It is where the most contamination is, and it is where the contamination is hardest to treat. So you're going to want to spend a lot of time and attention on that HVAC system. And basically what that means is you're going to start at the cold air return. That's where it's going to be the most contaminated. It's going to be brought into that cold air return into the furnace, and then to a lesser extent the furnace is going to heat the air up and contaminate all the ducts and then all the rooms. This is why Salt Lake County and certain other counties believe that if any part of the HVAC is contaminated, then the entire house is contaminated. You are going to want to spend a lot of time on the HVAC system, and we'll talk about how to do that as well, but get that squirrel cage out or Carla will have your head. You're going to want to go with a long hose as far as the vacuuming is concerned, and then as far as the treatment is concerned, you can actually have a sprayer on another long pressure hose that will actually treat areas that you can't get to. Be aware that one of your options when things are really difficult is just to remove the ductwork, throw it away, and then you're not having to figure out whether you're getting all the corners or whether somebody's going to pass it off or whether you're recontaminating the house afterwards. One of your options is just to remove that stuff. Obviously, you'll want to be very clear with the client before you do that, because otherwise the client might be expecting you to replace that ductwork. Yeah, you're going to want to use a long hose both for the HEPA vacuuming and another long hose for the treatment. I mentioned that. And or the areas that you can't treat, you're going to want to, for example, I've got a long duct above my head here. You can probably actually hear it because that furnace is going right now, but you're going to want to cut holes in that thing at regular intervals so that you can get a sprayer head up there and actually spray that area and blow the dust and the crap out so that the county can be satisfied that we don't have contamination that remains inside the house. You can do that, of course, with a Sawzall. You can do it with a jigsaw. I've seen with a jigsaw where you attach something in the middle and you just do the jigsaw around this maybe 10-inch diameter circle, or you can maybe cut a hole with a Sawzall and do maybe a 10-inch diameter square. Either way is fine. One might be perhaps more aesthetically pleasing than the other, but either way works. Finally, the cleanup, you're going to want to go with a HEPA vacuum. And that is actually a requirement. The concept in a HEPA vacuum is basically any vacuum with a HEPA filter in it. So you can go with a standard Home Depot shop vac and then put a HEPA filter in there, and that way you can vacuum up all the dirt that's on the floors, etc. Obviously, it's easier to treat a floor that is cleaner. One of the important concepts in decontamination is that you are a decontaminator, not a cleaner. But the cleaner the house is, the more assured everybody is that the place is actually decontaminated. Another thing I would tell you about the shop vac and the vacuuming is get those edges. If you're going to have, for example, around the edge of the room, maybe where there was carpet, you're going to have tack strip. You don't have to get that tack strip up, but you definitely need to get the dirt between the tack strip and the wall, and there will be a lot of dirt there. So pay close attention to that. A room that doesn't look clean, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt as to how good a job you are if the room is not clean. And of course, clean can mean 1,000 things, especially depending on who the county person is. But that's your job. You're a decontaminator, but a part of your job is to convince people that the room is clean. Okay, next segment we're going to go over what goes and stays in a remediation.